So good morning, Lars. Could you introduce yourself and tell us who you are and what you do at Tivoli?
Good morning, Andy. My name is Lars Adler from Tivoli Gardens and Nymph Hotel in Copenhagen. I'm the director of B2B sales. Anything to do with the amusement park and our hotel and our event business. That's my responsibility.
Cool. So we know that Denmark now is slowly coming out of lockdown after 2 months. And we're starting to see the restrictions being eased and we're starting to see borders being lifted. So clearly we're hearing from the Danish government as well that the focus is very much upon domestic tourism at the moment. And we read recently they're spending 21 million kroner to encourage the Danes to holiday at home this year. So I know Tivoli is an institution in many ways, and it's welcomed millions of international visitors as well as the local markets as well. So what's the normal split then between local Danish visitors and international guests, Lars? I mean, how does that work, and are you making any adjustments now within your product to attract more Danish visitors than you would normally?
Well, in a normal year, we have about 35% international guests, 65% Danish. But it's seasonal. So in the summer season that we're in now, we would usually have 42-43% international, and then a lot less in the winter time and fall. So what we're looking into now is, of course, a drop of around 40% in guest numbers coming from the international markets, and we expect to open on June 8th the park. We are quite strong in our local market. We have around 300,000 annual cardholders that visit us 2 to 3 times a year. But of course, it's a hard hit for us not having any tourists come in, because we also see the average spend per guest is a lot higher when it comes to tourists. They spend more in our restaurants and bars and rides.
Well, I imagine so. And on that subject, then, when's Tivoli reopening completely again?
On June 8th, we're reopening, but our hotel has been open all along. Our 5-star Nymph Hotel has been open throughout the Corona crisis, and we opened some of our restaurants on May 18th when the authorities allowed that. And yesterday we opened our food market, our Tivoli food hall, with around 14 smaller restaurants, and we opened a section of the park as well to allow some of those guests to eat outside until we open on the 8th of June. We'll be opening with some restrictions on June 8th. The authorities don't allow the fast rides, so some of the roller coasters have to be closed or can only be used for separate parties. So a party of 20 people can use one of the fast rides, but you can't use the rides with people you don't know. So we're looking into that at the moment, how to do that. But we will open on June 8th. That's 100% sure.
So just a question on your restaurants. So your restaurants, you can now, you're using the outdoor space as a sort of de facto restaurant outside to give you more ability to employ the social distancing rules.
Exactly. And our restaurants, of course, to give an example, a restaurant with a capacity of 200 people, we might be able to host 120, 130 people. And it is the business case is definitely there. We've had quite a lot of interest in booking. Of course, we see smaller bookings, 2 parties of 2, 4, and 6 people. You're still only allowed to be 10 people in the party. We can do a group of 30, but they have to be 10 people per table, and they're not allowed to walk between the tables. They have to stay in their group of 10. But we expect those restrictions to be lifted on June 8th as well. That's basically why we haven't opened yet, because we were allowed to open on Wednesday this week, but there's still a restriction on groups up to 10 people. And if they increase that to 30 or 50, we can control that. We can make sure that people are not in groups of more than 30 or more than 50. That's easier for us to do than 10. So that's why we haven't opened yet.
Okay, fine. And then I guess the interesting thing from my perspective is on a sort of marketing level, which is my background. When you have international business, you know when it's coming because you have it pre-booked in. So you know you've got a group arriving on a certain day, you've got another group arriving on a certain day. When you rely more reliant upon local business, that's a little bit more given. It depends on the weather, it depends on all sorts of different factors. So that's something that I guess you need to sort of try and build into your cash flows and build into your plans and all that sort of stuff. So how's that thinking? How have you adapted to that thinking? And where do you know, how do you do your marketing? Is it particularly with a domestic marketing mind? Is it social media, or what other sort of mechanisms do you employ?
I mean, if we look at our hotel, we've had a strong focus on our staycation product, a new product where we give. I mean, we're not reducing rates, but we're giving upgrades and so on, and it's been selling quite well, and that's social media. So we see the individual market performing quite well. People have cash to spend, and they want to indulge in more luxurious experiences at the moment. So we are focusing on Instagram and Facebook campaigns in the Danish market to attract locals. Even we see quite a lot of locals booking hotel stays for the weekend. I don't know if they want to get away from the family or whatever, but they seem to be booking, and booking levels are looking good. It's not a big hotel, but booking levels are good on the weekends, even for the restaurants and bars. So we see the high-end part of our product has been performing quite well the past 6 weeks, definitely.
Good stuff. And I guess the many people that we've spoken to, they obviously looking at the sort of hygiene protocols, and I guess we need to talk about this a little bit. And I don't think people are that. I mean, people understand that the restrictions have to be in place, and that goes without saying, and that applies to Tivoli, it applies to hotels, it applies to going to the supermarket, it applies to our everyday way of life now. So I don't think people expect that's going to be the case in Tivoli. They expect that there's going to be restrictions in the restaurants, there're going to be restrictions of social distancing on the rides, all that. But I think what is interesting, and what people would like to understand, is that how did you go about that? How did you sort of get, okay, we need to do this, guys, or we need to do that? Is there a rule book you were following, or did you just make it up as you went along? How did you go to that? How do you go through that process? And how do you get? So if I'm sitting in an amusement park or an attraction somewhere overseas, and I'm thinking, hey, these guys have done a great job here. How do they follow your example, and how do they do what you did?
So it depends on the part of our business. As we operate a hotel, about 40 restaurants, and then the amusement park with the rides. So for the restaurant business and the hotel business, we contacted our provider of safety and security. I think the company we use in Denmark is Mortalin, they're called, and they do webinars and trainings for staff already for hygiene, and for the systems we already have in place for food safety. So we've gone through all processes with them, and they've given us recommendations on how to clean the hotspots in the rooms to make sure that everything is sanitized. So that is already in place and it's been like that for a few months now. We did that early on. For the rides in the park, we contacted the health authorities here in Denmark, because I think we had a more proactive approach. So we did what we thought was necessary, and then they've done some inspections to see what we've done. On the rides, our staff, they wear a branded mask, or what do you call it, a visor? What do you call that in English? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And we've done some branding on it with our Tivoli brand. We've done, of course, all the regular stuff with distancing and markings and so on. And then we've developed a queuing app for our rides. So you cannot go on a ride without booking the ride in our app. That's obligatory now. It was in development before the Corona breakout, but we fast tracked it, and now you can book up to 6 rides, and you get a push message every time the ride is ready for you to go and queue up. And actually, it's something. It will stay after the Corona crisis. It will be something nice for people to have. And we've done the same for the restaurants. You're able to pre-book takeout meals from the restaurants and bring them into the park. That's also in our app, and that has been launched 3 weeks ago. We thought we were opening a month ago, so we were ready. We were so ready to open. But that's one of the things where we've really pushed forward some of our development in our IT department and focused.
I think that's really interesting, because I think a lot of the I think this whole Corona thing is like forced people to do a lot of things a lot quicker. And the very fact that we're having this conversation now, and yet there's something that we probably wouldn't have even thought about 6 weeks ago. And then suddenly technology is like, oh, well, we need to do this, but we need to do it right now, because we can't push it under the back burner any longer. It has to happen now. And I think that your app is a fantastic example of that. So that's really interesting to see that in action.
Well, somebody said the other day, you should never let a good crisis go to waste. So, you should take advantage of it, and you would see it even in product development. I mean, of course, you asked me before with the domestic market, what do we need there? We've never had a 2-day product before. We never focused on our two-day entrance ticket. Now we're launching that next week, so people can arrive, have a 2-night hotel stay, and then visit the park in the evening and visit us again the next day. So that's also something new for us that we've never done before, because we are a city center amusement park. We usually used to 1 visit per tourist or per guest, and we're looking into more product development, I would say, because of this.
Interesting, very interesting. Just a quick question just on that, and in terms of the government, Danish government, I mean, just give me a couple of lines on this. So did you receive support from the Danish government in terms of getting through this whole mess?
Yeah, we've had 1,300 people on leave with financial support from the government. Up to, I would say, it's about £3,000 per employee that they pay.
Right.
So of course, we've sent home 90% of our staff has been home, and they're coming back slowly, and the most will be back on when we open on June 8th.
Excellent. That's good. That's good news. I'm pleased to hear that. So I guess international markets are still important to you in the longer term. What's your thoughts on that? I mean, is there any sectors that you? I have 2 questions really. I think is that one, when do you think you might see some international visitors? I know that the Nordic domestic market, extra domestic market, if you like, will start coming back soon. You might be welcoming Norwegians and Finns and maybe Baltic visitors from the Baltic countries. How do you see that panning out? And also, I guess the other question is, are there any particular sectors of the market which you would either A, see coming back first, or B, you would like to see come back first? What's your feeling on that?
We're still hoping for a few cruise ships at the end of the season. We've extended our season until early October because we've extended by 3 weeks because we had to close down. But honestly, my expectations for next year for the cruise business is that there's a lot of vouchers out there, a lot of people who didn't receive a refund but received the voucher. So I think 2021 can be quite okay for the cruise ships, but this year it's a loss, and all of our hotel partners are not seeing any occupancy at the moment. So that will wait until next year, and it will probably take a while to recover. Where we do see business is on the events business. We do see some sectors still booking business events. This week we saw quite a surge in business events, of course, with some hesitation regarding cancellation terms and so on. But we've seen quite a lot of booking confirmations coming in for the last months of the year, the Christmas parties are still booking, and then for 2021.
Sure. Interesting.
But it is, so it's interesting to see there's still a lot of optimism out there in some sectors that aren't affected.
I think it's interesting. We were on a conversation the other day. We had our a big in fact, we had a reception in Tivoli in February, which was a collective, which we had a couple of hundred people there, and it was just 92 days ago that we were all sort of enjoying a good drink and a good old evening in the NIM hotel in Tivoli. And you know, the world has changed and been turned upside down in those 91 days. But I think what is encouraging, I think, from my perspective, is that, you know, in the next 91 days, things could be very, very different to the way things are now. And I think there is a lot of doom and gloom around, but I also think there's lots of optimism as well. And I think people are saying, okay, well, 91 days is still a fair long time, but a lot can happen in those times. And just yesterday, we saw that the Baltic bubble has been extended by 16 countries and all that. And I think things will start to becoming a little bit more open as things.
But of course, the focus will be on the near markets. I mean, my focus right now is Norway and Germany. It's high-paying markets and with a lot of potential. They have money to spend on their holiday. They might go somewhere closer to home. So that's our main focus right now, because that's what we. So of course we're focusing on domestic, and the domestic market. You have to look at both what you have really near you, and then I mean, it can be a challenge for us to attract people from Western Denmark, because Copenhagen has the reputation of a little bit more coronavirus than the rest of the country. So we have that challenge as well. But definitely, as soon as we can, we want to see more Norwegians and Germans, and then hopefully Sweden and the UK as well in a few months.
Okay. Well, I certainly hope so too. And Paul, I'm speaking on behalf of Paul and myself. I think we're sort of clawing at the walls of the opportunity to get back to visit you guys in Copenhagen, and we look forward to that day very much. Lars, listen, I don't want to take too much of your time. You've been super helpful today, and it's been great to speak to you. The only thing I would say, let's hope the good weather continues for Tivoli, because I think that will help your bottom line tremendously if it stays nice and sunny in Copenhagen for the next few weeks and the rest of the summer. So for now, thanks very much, Lars, and we look forward to speaking to you again very, very soon.
Thank you, Andy. Bye bye.